And we also have a new member. So maybe we should just go around the room and do introductions. I had the fortunate opportunity to enjoy a cup of coffee with Lydia last week. Time flies. I think it was
Could have
last
been
week.
two, could have been one, but yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that was a nice conversation, and I just tried to bring her up to speed with what we've done in the past and what we are working on towards the future. You know, Jamie.
Yeah, I just.
Sustainability coordinator. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the group.
Pardon me, David Kirstein, I'm retired. And what, 6 years or so on this committee?
Probably that long, yeah.
What did you do before you retired?
There's a biomedical research administrator. In a small institute.
Yeah.
Ron Allen, retired, been on the committee for N number of years, whatever N may be.
And what did you do before you retired?
I helped plan nuclear war.
Thank goodness we haven't had it yet.
Thank you for
The,
that.
At least it was planned, I guess.
And I'm Deb McDonough. I've been around since before this was the committee, though I'm not doing paperwork, so sometimes I'm not actually. Yeah,
Oh, we're going around the room introducing ourselves and telling her our most embarrassing moment. So.
I love genetics.
okay.
I'm Autumn Spear, I'm the planning director.
Yeah. I'm Lydia. Yeah. Yeah.
And what brings you to us?
Oh, what brings me to you guys? Two things. I've been a Scarborough resident since 2017. I live over on 77 with my husband and two little kids. I have a 5-month-old and a almost 3-year-old. And just first, genuine interest in being a part of a sustainable future for Scarborough. And then two, I work at Competitive Energy Services, so I have some exposure to the energy world and, you know, England's transition to, you know, being fully electric. So that's my reason for being here. I'm excited to be a part of it. And yeah, and no embarrassing moments. Yeah.
And April?
Hi, guys. April Seither, Lydia, nice to see you. I am the town council liaison to the committee, and this is my second year as liaison.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
And nobody else on the,
Nope.
I see not. So that's the gang.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
We
Well,
had
there's
Yeah,
Anton.
Anton is with us this week or this month, and then we do have one more opening. So if you know anyone
Sure,
that might
yeah.
want to join the sustainability committee,
Okay.
we still have space.
Excellent.
Well, thank you. Thank you for playing along.
Deb is very happy to have another woman on the
Okay.
committee.
I don't know.
Don't scare her. Don't scare her.
I have to tell her.
Now, yeah.
Now you have to, now you have to.
So there have been 2 other women who serve on this committee.
Yeah.
and Each of them have passed away.
Okay.
With cancer diagnoses.
I'm not gonna lie, I replayed the first 30 seconds of the last meeting
You should have been.
with closed captions several times because I was,
But did I say it then too?
yeah,
I
but it
thought
was a little
on
muffled. It
regularity.
was, I hope she doesn't have blank. And I was like, rewind.
But we were talking about having that filled,
Yeah.
but the town council hadn't approved it yet.
I don't know about that.
So you were on record.
Yeah.
Here we are. I'm
Sure.
saying all kinds of things I should never have said. so.
I do warn you all before I hit record here.
I know you do. And I have no impulse control. And so. I'm just, yeah, okay.
You can tell we're fairly low key
Yeah.
in parliamentary procedure
Sure.
and things of that nature, although we do have certain businesses we have to take care of.
Yeah.
One of them being, the minutes from the last meeting were provided by Jamie in the packet, all kinds of good stuff.
Move to approve.
And we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? We can just do a show of hands or because
Yeah,
we have
it's all-
nobody on the, so all in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have a robust agenda today, talking about several things in old business and then we'll do some updates. But is there any other items that members wish to bring to the committee for discussion? All right, hearing none, I guess we'll go with the agenda we have. Jamie.
Perfect.
So now we'll talk about this fun stuff.
Yeah, so I can share my screen if that would be helpful. Or Autumn, do you want to introduce, just do a quick intro of the lighting standards?
So we have commercial design standards that the planning board uses. And the commercial design standards include lighting, landscaping, architectural requirements, all sorts of things. And a lot of them are specific requirements, a lot of them are recommendations. But staff is trying to take those out of the commercial design standards as a document that was created about 20 years ago and incorporate those into our site plan ordinance. And while we're doing that, reformatting, strengthening, adding, modernizing, if you will. And so I've broken them out. Conservation Commission looked at landscaping, you all have lighting, long range planning right now is a plan materials. So this one, what I've done is I've color coded it, so. Black, there's some crossovers, so you have your existing site plan requirements, and those are in our ordinances, and those are in black. And then blue is where it shows up in the commercial design standards. And then green, I haven't proposed a lot, just a few small things at this point, but you all is what I'm looking for the green, right, for the new additions and some changes. So that's it in a nutshell, and I think Jamie sent this out to you guys last month, to take a look at.
And to remind us.
And and so not looking, you don't have to look to creating the ordinance or writing specific language, but if you can give myself or Jamie an input on what you think we should change or tweak, we can fix that up. And then I'll take it to long range planning committee and they'll review it, and then it'll go to ordinance committee. And you know the drill, so. It's a little faster than I think the EV charger was. I think.
I'm counting on it.
Between that and our solar ordinance, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
We do.
but we're sort of in a good cycle right now with ordinance committee that if we can get things in.
And I think because of the comp plan and the doing what the comp plan said we were gonna do is enabled us to move things a little faster.
And these are updates to existing ordinances as opposed to proposing whole new things. So.
Yeah, there isn't a whole lot of education that has to be done to bring certain people along.
Right.
Although I'm crossing my fingers.
So yeah, with that, I don't know how you all want to go through it, if you've already looked at the Google Doc or.
So Rick has added some comments in there.
I felt like it was good and.
Oh, for the most part, and I'm thinking about adding something else right in the purpose. I'm doing it live.
Perfect. That means I don't have to go back and do it later, so I love that.
Typing in something struck.
Oop, yeah, I gotta move my cursor. I wanna go, I think we should look at energy consumption, not only the consumption, but also the demand. Because the demand has impacts on finances. Your demand charges from electricity, for example.
Is that something we're gonna?
And peak and non-peak coincidence factors weigh in on the big picture. When you talk about outside lighting, because it is at night, the demand factor is less. But if you have outside lights that stay on during peak time, that demand raises demand, and I know Lydia will agree that it increases the cost.
Well,
So how would you review something like that?
I would just say energy, well, this is the purpose of it.
Right.
So we're doing the energy consumption and demand
Okay.
is what I was gonna put in. But, I think my other comment that I made, and I'm trying to reference where that is. Oh, I added color rendering because blue, the warmer or the higher the color 4,000 is a little bluer light. Well, the blue light wave travels further and therefore it can be part of light pollution. And so as you know, kind of in that 3,000 K range, because that's where you can get that IDA certification or dark sky. So I think color rendering is an important purpose of this.
Can we require a not to exceed number? for that?
We could do anything we want in an ordinance. I sometimes for example, outside lights where you have a high crash area, it might be better to have, that wavelength going further out so that you have better lighting but, that's just me talking. I don't know as if we want to put a restriction on a certain color. But at planning board, we could certainly say, why are you proposing a 4,000 versus a 3,000 and let them justify it?
But I think that's what we're trying to strengthen is so we don't have to have those conversations.
Okay.
They just do what.
So then when it says 3,000 K,
Yeah, I would say, I would
All
rather
right,
see it like
Yeah.
a limit
Like
and
now's
then.
the time, right? Let's make planning board meetings.
I would have loved that earlier on. Believe me, I would have loved that.
Next agenda, you'll appreciate it.
I'm fine with that. I
Yeah,
think,
that's stuff like, if that's what we're gonna keep, and you guys have been saying that, I think James has brought that too.
yeah.
So, like,
And I think we're fortunate that we have the entire downs not exceeding 3,000 K.
Right.
So I think that's a good case study, if you will, or best practice that we could support that.
So we need to add a section about color. Think there's anything, is there anything in here now? About color? And
I didn't
I didn't
see any.
see any.
We could, in that paragraph, it says for safety and energy conservation purposes, illumination levels shall not exceed minimum. We could say lumen levels and color rendering shall not exceed.
Where are you?
Well, the purpose is super general, so let's get down.
Yeah, maybe that's true.
Let's get purpose and go into,
Can I-
general, like, if we
Yeah,
get
hold on,
to-
David has a question.
Oh, sure.
Just before we go on, Rick, with your edit there. Will other readers understand demand charges? as an
Well, I
issue?
don't think they need to understand demand charges, but having the word demand in there refers to the charges, but
I'm just speculating that,
lighting designers would know what it means, and they're gonna these developers have to use,
Yeah, I think to your point, we have to be able to create a rule that addresses demand, right? So the purpose is the broad, and then we want a specific, like, or is there something they're gonna show us with the lighting plan that would show us that they're making good demand choices? I mean, it's not my
I mean,
area.
that's the stuff that's specified.
well, yes, because
About-
that's all part of the scheduling that is being brought up.
So we could include, like in our lighting plan required, we might include something about scheduling and.
Yeah, I think I threw that in as a comment.
Okay.
Yep,
So
yep.
that-
Oh, yeah, Rick's
Okay.
comment, like, actually.
So I haven't seen your comment yet, so I'm just.
No problem.
All right, Autumn, what section did you want to jump to?
So I'm thinking, let's see, so general. I have to like take the glasses off to read this. So you're at energy efficiency. And I just added a placeholder, and there was one. like wherever practical, lighting fixtures shall include timers, photos, and other energy saving devices. That's super vague and hard. Like,
Yeah,
can we do something to that?
Well, Rick has a comment over the side,
Okay.
language requiring a lighting level schedule, reducing handle limits for hours and business closed.
Okay,
May require
perfect.
Saturday, Sunday charge. Average min max during open close hours.
So let's incorporate, we can incorporate all those things in this area. So that's.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And is that then where you would include the demand concept as well?
Well, that is one of the reasons why you're doing this, is to deal with that coincidence factor.
So I think that would be
Put it all
all in energy efficiency rather than lighting. But maybe not.
well, the lighting plan should, I think, reflect the energy efficiency.
Well, maybe energy efficiency is just one item in lighting plan required rather than being a single
Yeah, that's a good idea.
separate piece.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. And it may be that it.
I think that was generally, I don't think I did anything else.
Oh, those are your two big.
Yeah,
I felt like it was, I was actually surprised that we had this strong.
I-
Somewhere to grab, so hooray for us.
Well, and I think a lot of the blue, it's, right now, it's not required. It's in the commercial design standards, so putting it into the ordinance will.
We
force
tell
people to
people it's
comply.
required.
I'm not sure. I think the use of metal halide lights is strongly recommended in parking lots.
Okay,
I,
Do we want to specify LED? or do we just
well,
want
I think we should specify
Yeah.
LEDs, because that's industry standard anyway now.
Right, but we could get out ahead of our, like.
Yeah, get them out of the headway, just say it.
Something better, and then we still are requiring metal halide. I mean,
The use of LED. Lamps, LED fixtures.
So up where the energy efficiency was, can't we just say that you are to use the most energy efficient
Hmm.
device which meets the lumen requirement of the.
IES minimums.
well, the
If we-
very minimum gets for expensive is that we're trying to ask them to do the best they can find anywhere on the market.
no, I don't think we can ask them to find the best. I think we tell them the parameters and they can, they still get to choose their fixtures and things. So we create. the box.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of different flavors of outside lighting, and why should we pigeonhole anybody into certain criteria other than saying that you need LEDs and we want them at 3K?
You can-
You know the spirit of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the
I have no-
smallest pigeonhole you got.
Beyond that, we really don't care. Oh, and you can't let them go fame up and. you-
Well, we're calling them cut off, and we have to see the photometrics plan, which certainly provides that information.
But if next week, somebody invents a brand new, more efficient type of lighting, now we've got LEDs and we're.
Now we'll just go back and update it.
So if we just say the most energy efficient that meets the requirements,
LED or better.
isn't that, I mean, more than likely that's an LED at this point in time, and if it's not, what is it?
Could we say LED or better?
Yeah, we can do something like that. It's fine.
And that leaves it open. Like here, we've
Yeah.
locked people into metal halide, which we really don't want to do.
We-
And that
we don't
was a
want-
good idea a long time ago.
Yes.
But, and so not limiting, but not letting them do something worse.
No, I, that's. Don't want something worse.
I like the way this has been broken down, though, into the different sections, like canopy lighting and that kind of thing. Yeah, it makes sense.
And I try to make it match the way landscaping does too, so it's like. People can start to go, okay, this is what you do around the building, so it sort of flows.
Well, that's a good idea.
Um, So everything kind of starts to make sense. My brain sort of works in order.
It's okay.
Novel approach.
I'm not sure if I'm in the same spot as you all, though.
Oh, I'm just,
There, for everywhere.
Okay. Sorry for those following along on the screen then. Let me know if you want me to scroll faster or slower.
I did notice you had a service area that was blank.
Yes, because we didn't have anything for service area.
Does this mean service station?
No, this is like your dumpsters and your behind the building sort of areas that could be almost like your dangerous areas or late
Uh,
at night, that kind of stuff. There was nothing in any of our standards.
It wasn't addressed anywhere.
Service area.
What do you recommend?
Just-
An emotion from service or?
Maybe or something, at least so it has to be lit. You know, it's like those areas need to be lit or maybe at least on timers or motion sensors or something for that.
You know, some of you don't want them to. All that one, but.
Right, but if it's like at the back of the building, that kind of thing, I'm thinking about like. Kids at, 1 o'clock in the morning taking out the trash at McDonald's to the dumpster, that sort of thing. Like if there's a way.
yeah, but that's part of the parking lot
Maybe
grid
it's-
plan, isn't it?
Maybe if it's excluded from the parking lot. We'll just have to check it, to make sure it's got an appropriate light level.
Comfortable. Sure. Like, I just don't have a sense of.
Yeah,
balancing
yeah.
there at all.
Service areas / security lighting
Mm-hmm.
may warrant a little bit, but they'll have, then it's subjective. Well, we're saying this is a security light. So that's why our lumen levels are high. We're not backing it down. So,
Maybe it's more, but when we look at the photometrics plan, that the service area, sometimes. Certain parts of the parking lot are just almost zero.
you could say on the photometric plan, designate your service areas.
Designated, and it has to be a certain range, so we can know that it's.
Yeah. Because sometimes those are far away and I've seen plans where it's almost zero. And I'm saying that's a safety hazard there. So. Included in the lighting plan, designate your service, if you have service areas. That way we can focus on that. And say, all right, I accept a 0.4 versus the average that's been a 0.2.
That's kind of just what I was looking for, just
Yeah.
an acknowledgement that those areas shouldn't be clicked on.
Angela has her hand up. She's joined us on Zoom.
Hi, Angela.
Hi, Angela.
Hi, sorry to interject, but I was curious about uniformity. Would that play into it? Like you're talking about, there's some areas that are zero and there's some that are like higher if you're talking about a safety light kind of thing, but would specifying more like an actual number, you know what I mean? Would that help mitigate
Uniformity is on that.
that extreme?
The uniformity is a product of the min-max
Right.
that's required, or that we're requiring on the lighting plan. So if a
Or
Go ahead.
sorry. Or I was just thinking, or maybe the uniformity isn't the right word then. Thinking about where you're going through hot spots and then darkness and that consistency across the site. Is there a way to capture that? That way you don't get the extremes. And so it's less concerning around loading docks and things like that because they have to kind of balance the site.
Well, again, that's all part of what we see when we look at the chart and look at the min-max and the average.
Yeah.
And so if you got a min and a max, and then the average is that whole lighting plan. And so kind of that's embedded into that.
Yeah, but
don't
I don't
want
think
big
it's capturing
extremes.
it. Right, but it's not capturing those extremes because you can average, you can have zeros everywhere and then have super hot spots, right? And then your average looks fine.
Yeah, the only thing that we really have that talks about this is under general, like existing, in black, it's for safety and that one. For safety and energy conservation, we have this elimination level shall not exceed minimums But do we need to strengthen that to Angela's point so that we're really specific, that you at least have to be the minimum throughout the parking area? Is that kind of what you're getting to, Angela? Like the minimum on the
Right,
chart?
right.
but
And people
there's
can be cheating. You're kind
a
of
lot
cheating
of
the
places
system
in
by
there
having,
really-
right, you're cheating the system if you have zeros in certain area because you want to have higher levels than somewhere else, and it ends up looking like you're meeting the standard, right? So it's more about kind of being, yeah, trying to take away
Okay, I see
those
where you're coming from.
loopholes.
Generally, even distribution is got a good reason.
Something about,
Generally, even distribution, they can make a case for what's.
Yeah, the use of metal halide light and lamps, you can take that out.
yeah, struck that. But maybe this language needs to be more specific. And then things like service areas don't have to be, we don't have to worry about them so much. Is there anything, have you all ever looked into like step TED standards, like crime prevention or environmental design?
I haven't.
There's some standards of that, and that has to do with landscaping and lighting. But it's like making sure, there's not the 6-foot bush right outside the front door versus make it be, I mean, it's more probably a good. Yeah.
And there's the one thing I have read and looked into, because we break out sessions and certain things, there's equity in lighting too. Whereas if you go into a high crime area that's known as high crime, the lights are really lit.
Yeah.
And those poor people that aren't criminals have to live in this overlit environment. And so, that speaks to equity, lighting equity. And I don't think we want to have that situation
No,
where we would say, because this is a crime area, we feel like security lights need to be.
oh yeah, no, that's not what step TED is. It's more of a proactive, like, don't provide an opportunity for crimes. It's like, don't allow the dumpster.
Like shadowing areas and that kind of stuff. I follow you.
Don't put
Yeah.
20 parking spaces dark in the back and then put a row of shrubs in front of them, that.
Yep.
But I don't know if there's anything, I can look and see if there's anything. we can-
I think generally, if you do a good site plan, photometrics plan, you're gonna pick up
Yeah.
on some of this stuff. And we just, at that point, say that's not meeting.
I know I've had experiences in the past with a lot of like from multifamily design, will be a complete back wall. I looked at some in a previous role and like, it's dark back there. There's a lot of landscaping and you have this little walkway.
Mm.
What are you doing? It's completely black. You were gonna be walking their dog back
Yeah.
there.
Well,
those
college
kind of-
campuses are another,
And that goes to like Andrew's point, making sure that the lighting is uniform.
Uniform,
throughout,
yeah.
Wow. Is there? Are our heights and everything okay, Rick?
I think so.
I know, I'm like, are we thinking of Costco? Was that our?
Not just looking at that, there's been other cases where, we haven't had the pushback like we got with that particular big box store.
Lots of examples of lessons learned, but.
We do have this opportunity, where we say shall have a maximum pole height of 20 feet unless higher poles will reduce. the
Reduce.
total number. But do we want to put a total max, like never ever going over 30 feet maybe, or I mean, because a 50-foot tall pole would really reduce, right? I'm just trying to think like, so you don't get the argument, so at least you could go up, but this is.
How high are the handbrake lights, for example?
At the lot, I think they're within the 20 feet. I can't picture it, to be honest with you.
They certainly feel tall enough for a big parking.
They might be 30, and that's why there's, less. I get why we have, and the value of LEDs is they're directional and I just don't want stadium light,
Sure.
I don't want a building to be, which you're gonna see, that's gonna look like a stadium when you come down Payne Road.
So, that's a good question. What would you do if we did get a recreational field?
Well, I think there's an exception for athletic fields.
Is it in here?
Did
Did you see anything? Okay, then there's not one.
Well, I'm saying there should be,
Okay,
there
yeah,
should
yeah.
be,
That's why I'm like, we should address that. Okay, Because this is the opportunity to like,
But there too,
Think
should
of
be
those.
limited to
yeah,
time of use and.
Well, it depends on the level of what that field is being used for. If it's NCAA, they require a certain light level versus a NFL level lighting. Well, I'm just saying there are different lighting level requirements for different levels of sports.
So not to exceed the lighting level requirements. And not to be on all night.
I can look at some samples and see if there's any.
Maybe that'd be a good idea, because I don't know.
It's-
We don't really typically, in my job, we don't see that because they're
I
not
know we're
cost
gonna-
effective.
We're gonna get some, and
Yeah.
it's gonna come up, and
the newer
might as
lights
well
don't
address
have to
it
be
proactively rather than responding.
Right.
6 hours ahead of time, but some facilities managers are still. turning them on
Yeah,
6
and Scarborough lights, you actually have to call California to turn them on.
Yeah,
They're on that system where they are programmed and turned on and off. And then there is local control that you do have.
yeah, my husband ran the recreation fields in the last meeting, and we always, where are you calling?
Yeah, that's what it is.
I remember the time difference.
And then as an official, I'm looking for that red light, because if that red light starts flashing, the light's got 15 minutes, you gotta get out of there, or else it's gonna go dark. That's after being out there for 3 hours and the game's 21-2,
You just want the lights to turn off.
then we just want the lights off.
Okay. That's a good catch.
Yeah. And I bet there's some language out there in the,
And is there something for parks or do we need something for? I'm just trying to think of other use cases now that we just did that.
Any places that you notice that you don't have, or.
Well, and this doesn't cover road lighting. This is not.
No,
this is just
not-
commercial.
it's just commercial.
And parks are. Well, I guess there could be like parkland at a multifamily dwelling or something.
It could be like any kind of private open space.
And I'm not sure if that needs to be different from a parking.
I mean, I guess it would depend on the use within that park. Whether you're going to have,
I'll see if I can,
Yeah,
yeah,
understand what I'm asking.
right. I'll see if there's anything out there, different things would happen.
I mean, that's almost pedestrian space, I think.
are there any uses we're missing? Any other uses we're missing?
So I'm trying to look through. and think of them.
Does the.
Well, gateways, plazas, major building industries is under significant design. and when they're- So what I'm asking about is almost plaza, but that might be where. it
That's a
goes.
question I wanted to ask Rick. So we refer back to the ISNA standards. Do they change very often? Would it be? I like things that live by themselves, right? And you can just say, okay, these are my minimums and maximums, and it's really clear. I wonder if that's something we can incorporate in as a chart into the actual ordinance.
You would probably put in a chart with date.
Maybe, and then like, as long as I know when it updates. So I don't know that it updates here. Unless there's maybe new technology or something. But still your standards, unless our, get better. Would be pretty similar, right?
You got it. Okay.
Your knowledge base is required.
Hey, Rick. I was kind of playing around with the idea of incorporating the actual lighting standard chart in the ordinance instead of.
Yes, it's.
Yeah, does that change often? Or is it pretty?
They meet often, but I don't know what their substantive changes are. How would we word it? Maybe saying, referencing the most recent IES standards.
Well, that's what it just says, illumination levels shall not exceed the minimums recommended, but I wanted to actually include what we're looking for. Uses, because we sometimes get into the, like, what kind of use is this?
Well, that becomes a very big thing because you have public parking, then you have private parking.
Right?
You have landscape lighting, building lighting.
Well, I guess that's what I was thinking. I had a hard time hearing you guys, so I thought I'd run up. So sorry for crashing in the middle.
No.
Cause like we have, even though ordinance says we don't, we have car lots, right? Because they're all contract zones in town, but I mean, that's a use where they're gonna keep pushing.
Yeah, and certainly
And if you
there's
wanted to say,
provisions
"Nope, your
in
parking
there.
lot," you know what I mean? So we wanna make sure that we're clear that.
What if we put a link into it so that they would go online to get the chart? Is that doable in an ordinance?
I think what I'm saying is I don't always understand the chart. The applicability for the chart for certain parts of the spaces. I know we've had some questions, but maybe. Maybe that's just me. I was just wondering if they change it often.
I haven't seen a lot of changes at where we are because foot candles is foot candles, no matter what, it's lumens. So it's just the technology has changed the ability to use lumens better. And use less watts per lumen. So I think the lumen levels probably don't change. And that's what IES is really getting at.
I might look at it and see if there's some.
I mean, cause like, yeah, max and min, those things never change, really, like you said.
Well, min and max is a result of what you put onto the photometric
But
plan.
what I'm saying is standard that they're trying to hit, right? And or.
Oh, yeah, those
Like,
don't
That's what I
typically,
think she's getting at.
Yeah.
Those numbers are pretty. consistent.
again, I think those would stay consistent because those are the lumen levels, the foot candles.
Okay.
And if you put in the reference of the date, then that
Yeah.
would be cue to,
The most
future us.
Yeah,
to-
so we can keep it now.
You know,
Well,
if
that was 15 years ago, maybe we should check and see if that's still.
maintaining the recommended IES lumen. What's the word? Lumens,
I mean, that's in there.
But I guess what if they update it and it goes brighter that maybe this group is not in favor of, you know what I mean? Like, wouldn't it be better to say this, you know what you're getting today?
That's kind of what it is, like. we might
Right, that's
wanna
what it is
tweak
gonna
a bit,
do,
like,
right?
this is our.
This is how Scarborough wants it at this level, it
Mhm.
doesn't really matter.
we'll take a snapshot in time and say, now this is it.
Or tweak it a bit, like, can we go, like, for car lots, maybe our parking lot, you can go of this, or. So we have some flexibility.
I think the IES acknowledges these different applications and therefore their lighting levels are included, like a car dealership.
I'll take a look at it and see.
Yeah, because they used to have 1,000-watt metal halides and their foot candles were way high. But nobody's selling a car at night, so bring them down.
Yeah, but you might drive by.
Well, they don't want you to.
But here,
Okay, we're trying to look at cars.
night into January is 3:30.
Right.
So they're selling cars.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point. Yeah, and another argument, because I remember talking to Adam Lee about this a long time ago. Security is a big deal because if you have shadows and stuff, you get these kids, catalytic converters getting stolen, those kind of things. So, you know, there's reasons for a little bit, but my theory is if you turn them off and they're on because something is there that shouldn't be there. You know, so it's a whole mindset change, like, but then you have animals, a cat go across and the light comes on. But the cat leaves, then the lights go back off.
I mean, it seems like they could at least be dim. They don't
Yeah.
have to be like full wattage.
Yeah, and I think that's covered in the
Yeah. and
ordinance
timing.
already.
You don't want metal halide lights and
No.
pedestrian space.
No.
Watch out, we're in that.
Yeah, we should search that whole document.
We're gonna say something like LED or better. So-
Which is amazing that it's still in the ordinance for as long as we've had LEDs out.
Well, if we don't read the ordinance, then. who
This is,
cares?
that's the beauty.
Updated in a really. So
Yeah.
this is our opportunity really to fix this. Make it what you want and make it, where it's easier to update, right? That's why, like, you do pieces and something new happens, like, oh, just tweak this. one
Yeah,
more.
yeah, and it doesn't take a month of Sundays to get it through.
See, like what I'm talking about, like there's really specifics for pedestrian space lighting. It talks about the illumination levels are actually spelled out in the section that we had. It still refers back to the IAS standards, but then it spells out specifics, so there's a little bit,
Mhm.
it's like double duty, like do this. And then it always says the minimum standards recommended. Is that what, or should it just be the standard? Like, does that mean they could be brighter?
Well, usually IES has a range,
Okay,
so you have a
it's
minimum and a max.
Heard then, like-
Well, I think this kind of leans toward, allowing as much lighting as you want.
It's what it says, right?
Yeah.
You'll find I'm like devil's advocate when I read these, like, oh,
Yeah.
I can do more.
Right,
we
right.
should
So
do
maybe
this
we
and
should-
this. And it should just say to these standards, not maybe minimums. instead of extra-
Right, to the standards, because there is the range.
There's that wording.
I see, actually, gas pumps are in here as a different,
Yeah.
because they, under the canopy and everything, you'll always see, that's for safety. You don't want to be spraying your gas not in your tank, because you can't see.
Yeah. Well, and I'm wondering about the wattage stuff in there too.
Mhm, yeah.
With LEDs, we're not gonna get up to
They're not
100 watts,
right.
so.
Greatness, that'd be exciting.
Oh, there are 100-watt LEDs out there,
I know,
Yeah,
and,
let's just put those all over town.
I mean, that's, yeah. We shouldn't,
so is that sentence even needed? We were already specified.
yeah,
Well, yeah, this is a different section, so.
Yeah, but the general says,
Oh, yeah,
thing up
general
top
says
says we're gonna use LEDs. Then, doesn't that mean for the rest of this?
Yeah, we don't have to reference what your fixture is.
Yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Well, you can also do, there's a part in here at the very end where it's got prohibited fixtures.
bare bulbs,
So this was the only thing that was in the existing ordinance. Is there anything else that should be prohibited? I don't think so.
Is that all the same line?
Lovely.
Yeah.
well, I mean, we brought in cutoffs, like non-cutoff fixtures shouldn't be allowed.
And you could say
But above that,
light bulbs with mercury. I mean, if you're gonna prohibit stuff, I mean,
Yeah.
anything with mercury near it.
But yeah, you get to a historic district and, they want the lights to be like when it was a flame light.
Mhm.
So
Well, we don't put that in town though.
Yeah.
we don't have a historic district, do we?
Yeah, not a problem.
Not our problem. Well, in 50 years, there could be one.
Yeah,
But the
but
history
But
would
it won't be.
But we won't.
Yeah, we won't be looking at this.
We'll have metal halides.
I mean, in 100 years, the Downs will be in a historic district.
Site that can. Those ball.
The ball.
Light, remember?
Yep, yeah. I know Saco had that issue too, when they did their downtown. But again, you can do internal shielding. So we want full cutoff and shielded. But I think the bare light kind of represents that, but maybe we can just put that language in.
Temporary lighting, like. Or like, could they get away with 800 strings of cafe lights?
If they're doing temporary lighting, they're not in front of planning board at that time.
Yeah, like there's actually a
And it-
statement.
it
in the
says
commercial,
that-
It says additional lighting during the holiday season.
Is encouraged.
Through January is encouraged. I mean, that exists today, so like.
I don't think we should even put that in. I think that just doesn't make sense. I mean, if you want to put up, you're not gonna go cite somebody for putting up Christmas lights, right? No, so why even,
After Brian was running around down being the Bruce. Picking down Christmas lights.
You know, that's what lights.
And the brown wreath that is still hanging on the door right now.
So we should strike that.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, well, you look at the Mercedes Benz up there, they have tree lights on year round.
Yeah.
They just change colors.
But should those be on their lighting plan and, I mean, those
Well,
are not holiday lights, right? Those are
Are they-
permanent parking lot lights. They're pretty,
That's what I
so,
mean.
I mean.
They're decorative lighting
There are
and,
certainly sites that are using cafe bulbs,
Yeah.
like that, the stuff across the street, that pizza place across the street has string after string of, cafe
Yeah, over the
bulb
like that
lighting
patio.
that are just spilling light everywhere.
yeah, and outside restaurants now that we have patio restaurants and stuff, they have outside lights. I think we just want to stay away from decorative lighting. I mean, if it's landscape lighting or building lighting, that's where we,
I mean,
In effect,
it's
but-
permanent. That stuff is technically temporary. They can
Right.
take it down, so.
They don't.
And like it wouldn't be on their
But I-
site plan.
Right, it
Right.
would be on there. I'm trying to think like if they want to come back after the fact, or if they want to put up, if it's not an original thought as part of their site development. And they just want to put up temporary string lights that will never come down. How do we address that? Do we address that?
I mean, I
Is
think
it
we
a big
should
deal?
address it in our lighting, like if you,
But are you going to require them to come back to planning board if they decide they want to put up 4 strings of cafe lights?
I mean, for dark skies, they should have a canopy over that. They should have some sort of like, if you're gonna have cafe lighting, you should have
it should
under or
be
something.
part of their photometric,
Okay,
especially if it's close to. I mean, those lights don't, like personally, I really like them, but
Right.
everybody doesn't, right? So if you show
Well,
them
and I mean, the
backyard.
main thing is for dark sky.
Yeah.
purposes, But we have something about dark sky, and if they can get around that by just.
I can look and see what,
lighting
you know.
thousands of strands.
yeah, I wonder how they address it in other, I mean, you could always look at it as a revenue source. So they have to come and apply to put up their decorative lighting.
They won't though, it'll be more of a complaint, and
Yeah.
then now I've got one, so so-and-so's doing it too, so I gotta work late at night
Yeah,
and find all the dark lights.
Yeah.
So.
I know, this is what I'm thinking. This is gonna become
Right now, I'm looking for all the tents for.
Yeah.
Could you have it as part of
Windstream lights.
site plan approvals though, that?
Yes.
That just say, asking them to show it, if they
Yes.
don't show it, then it just is
It's not.
like, it's written on their
Yeah.
site plan, they will not have.
Yeah, no, I think it should be addressed. We'll just add it.
Like you said, though, then you just get a chain reaction of everyone tattling on each other.
But for new stuff, at least we can move forward that way. So we capture it as a, because it is a pretty common thing we're seeing.
Oh,
Especially-
yeah, yeah, I
Or
think there's a
they-
lot more
Or
of
they
that.
could have for decorative lighting through site plan, just say it turns off when close of business.
Closing or something.
Yeah. Because then we get into the bare bulbs, those cafe lights are bare bulbs.
Yeah.
That's true, that's true.
She's,
Or a Christmas light.
I know.
Maybe I won't print it. See, this is good.
there'll be no Christmas in Scarborough.
No, way here. Well, as long as-
But we'll put a light up that says happy holidays on the sign as you come in,
Yeah.
as a sign light. Does this, how does this interact with the signage plan, you know, when they come before you guys on a lighting or on a signage plan? And they say, we're gonna put up, you know, programmable sign,
Yeah, like.
right? Planning board doesn't see any of that. That goes, do you need any language to support making sure that all of these new lights go up on sign lights or all LED?
Do I see this group volunteering to review the sign ordinance next?
No, I'm just saying that you gotta review that.
I'm looking for who wants to do the sign.
Oh, we'll take that on. We'll take the lights part on.
I was just thinking the same thing about.
It's no bigger than about like this.
But yeah, that's next, that's another piece.
Or did you guys already talk about the lighting of, like, the ground mounted?
Well, that's the landscaping and the building lights.
Yeah, but
But
it's
it's
gonna be
they need to be
signage.
turned off at some. I don't know. lighting their trees.
I don't know, I see residential housing with
Yeah.
landscape lights going up and they stay on all night.
But we shouldn't be encouraging.
I don't know, it's encouraging so much as allowing.
Well, I think the design standard did encourage it before.
Yeah, they do.
So like your foundation, are you talking about?
But I think that we come into some security stuff too, where you don't want the entire site to be dark all night, or if I were a business owner,
Right,
I
but I
would.
don't want uplights
Right.
all night.
Yeah. But it's so pretty.
It is lovely. I'm not saying, I'm just lovely. I'm not having a bad attitude.
Well, you know, and you see the boulders that are put on sidewalks, they gotta have, you know, I look at that in site plan, do they have a cap? And are those fins going down or are they going this way? And we want them down and we want the cap, but a bollard light is a safety light and everything else.
So let's go to page 5. Up at the top. For pedestrian space lighting. There's it says mounting height. Oh, you don't, you're there, mounting height. Okay, right above the blue. Mounting heights for pedestrian lighting should be appropriate for the project and the setting. So you've got bollard fixtures can be 3 to 4 feet in height.
And require a cap.
And, okay, so that's what I'm waiting for, like, is there anything we want to add to this stuff?
And should be dark side, dark sky. You're throwing that somewhere.
Yeah, but sometimes it's okay to be redundant,
Yeah.
especially when you're in sections. I mean, it's okay to keep saying the same thing because you meant it. Because sometimes if you don't say it, they think you don't mean it in this section.
Yeah.
right? So.
That's good.
So 3 to 4 feet in height, dark sky compliant, and ornamental fixtures up to 12 feet in height are encouraged as pedestrian area lighting. So that's what Angela's talking about, where we
12 feet seems awful high. I mean, I'm thinking, you know, when you're talking about a sidewalk light,
Well, I think they're pedestrian scale lighting, so you're a pole with 12, not a. But no,
Yeah.
I was talking about.
up to 12, yeah, anything higher than 12 isn't really needed.
But the ornamental fixtures still have to be full cutoff. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is special lighting. What is that?
Where is that?
It says
Oh,
with decorative or special.
lighting.
Oh,
Yeah, what
my
is special?
lights are
My lights are special.
I identify as a special light.
Decorative lighting is.
Yeah.
Full height shall be a maximum of 16 feet above the ground.
What,
Or
to your
is
point,
that-
you're always looking at, 'cause people are gonna come in going, no, we have a special light, it's not addressed in your ordinance, right?
Right.
Well, then we don't want
Because you
to,
can't think of everything.
Sorry, we don't allow special lights. You must only use the lights in the ordinance.
12 feet. Why do they need 16-foot high
What's the example?
special lighting? Decorative one.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what that even would be.
Like a street lamp looking thing, I guess.
I guess I
Or
could,
like if you did a.
yeah, I'm thinking
sidewalk
like
to
the
it.
downs even, when we went back and forth a lot with their lighting. And they wanted to be, you know, a signature light and have it look a certain way, and you know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure that's kind of unique, because we don't get a lot of that kind of projects, right? I mean, they're unique in that respect, but yeah, it could be like Dunstan. Subdivision or something where they have a certain look they're going for, and they do have decorative fixtures in it. They don't have the standard fixtures that the town issues, so. They could come in and say, well, we want to use less of them, so we're gonna, you know, do it 16 feet high or something like that. So those are the examples I come up with. I think it's more about aesthetics and a look that people are going for, like a really fancy, expensive fixture.
Yeah, while you're there, can you delete the next paragraph?
Yes.
So if they're gonna be higher, there should be less of them.
And the paragraph above that, the bollard fixtures, what's the purpose of the
3 to 4 feet, would that be maximum 4 feet?
Anything higher than the 4 feet, then it wouldn't be considered a bollard.
But he's saying why 3 to 4 instead of saying a maximum of 4
Yeah.
feet.
Yeah, because you can just have smaller, doesn't have to be 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the likelihood someone's gonna go to 2? Within 2 foot.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, most, maybe they did that because of snow. Didn't we talk about the bollard lighting at the downs and the little,
Oh,
making
that's
sure it's
true.
tall,
Plowing.
for snow or
See it,
plowing?
See
I
it.
bet that's where that,
Just make it. Yeah, up to 4. It matches up with up to 12 feet.
do you have any concerns with how the lights look like? Some places I've looked at before have specifications about how the base was mounted and how it looked different, and it wasn't just a plain pole. Is there any, has that ever come up? Not too much. Like, we very rarely get
I-
cut sheets that are good.
Yeah, I've seen the cut sheets that just show the bollard, you know.
Are you talking about just a little pole?
Yeah, just not
I
like
think
a
it's-
straight
I
pole
guess
that's just,
The other side, like consulting side, I always like to have like a foundation because they will, if you have too low, they're gonna fall over, things like, but that's really up to them on a private site. I think in our right of ways, yes, we dictate it.
okay.
So is there a difference? Explain the difference to me, please, between ornamental and decorative.
You're just a troublemaker. You want all kinds of explanations. You're just a troublemaker.
Maybe ornamental is just for Christmas.
Mel, maybe there's cut sheets that say ornamental and there's other ones that say,
I think it's written, I guess from looking at it when people are picking fixtures for their site. There is a difference when you pick an ornamental, fixture, I'm trying to think of an example, though, I guess I keep going back to Dunstan has an ornamental fixture rather than a standard fixture, it's. But decorative, I would think is more of like. Special. But I think when you go picking a fixture, like if you go into Hubble or whatever, and you're picking a light, they have a section of, here's your standard,
And
here's your
ornamental, and that's,
To you, they might look exactly the same, they put on top of a pole, or they have an
Yeah,
arm.
yeah.
But a lot of times it is an arm with like, squirrely lines and things, and it looks.
So would that be
ornate.
ornamental?
It looks
I think
ornate.
ornamental and decorative are like. the
Well, and
same.
just a minute, because
There's-
ornamental fixtures up to 12 feet.
Yes.
And poles up to 16 feet.
Mhm.
So does that mean the fixture still
Picture
can't
needs
be
to be
higher
on
than
top of the
12?
pole, right?
It doesn't necessarily, because you
No,
know.
oh, yeah.
How did it get up to 12? How did it get?
So
up
now
to
we're looking at
12?
28
The
foot.
question really is, what is decorative and special, I think.
That needs to be
like-
cleaned up a
well,
little bit.
because we're saying that is in the pedestrian area lighting. You could put a decorative or a special light on in a parking lot. And you may want that at 60, well, that's gonna go 16.
For pedestrian, can we just say that the fixture is up to 12 feet, but poles no taller than 16 feet?
No, you don't want a 12-foot fixture.
Yeah, because then we'll have a 28
You
foot.
want an all-inclusive 16 feet.
Yeah.
Like tall, the top,
Right.
you want the whole.
Oh,
so
I
the
just
whole
thought I meant
section.
that the fixture was 12 feet above the ground. And that the
Yeah.
pole might do something that made the pole go higher than the fixture goes.
That's how that's written, yeah, the pole is 16. Nice.
Yeah. But it's not a different kind of thing.
I read it where the
So
pole
this-
is here, but. the
That actually
fixture's
says
on
the
top.
fixture can be a 12-foot high fixture.
I'll fix this.
Okay.
So the ornamental fixture is, the fixture itself is 12 feet tall. According to.
Okay.
That's how I read it.
Yeah, I'm seeing, picturing a 28 foot light
So.
in our pedestrian way.
The first question, do we want to encourage bollards and ornamental fixtures up to 12 feet? Total 12 feet tall as pedestrian area light? Is that still encouraged? Or do we want to just set parameters around it? Like, we don't.
I think we should set parameters. We're
Yeah.
not here to encourage anybody
But
to
if
do
we
anything.
choose these are the minimums. and maximums.
Yeah,
Yeah, and should we say things are encouraged in an ordinance?
We should say nothing.
Is encouraged.
Encouraged,
Right.
right.
We encourage.
We encourage you to follow the ordinance.
Yeah, but that's not encourage, that's required. Encourage is,
Aspirational.
yes, like how I try to get my kids.
Yeah, you open yourself up for a lot of different things. Well, you're encouraging us to do this.
That's why we're going through all these little sections, because there's a lot of encouragement. We want to turn in rules, and I think, and the whole purpose is so we can do better, more thorough staff reviews and less opportunities for, we'll just ask the planning board, we'll just ask the planning board. No,
No,
you can't,
don't ask us.
so that's.
Our meetings are long enough.
I know, okay. So let's see.
And they can always ask for any questions. It seems like anybody can always ask.
Yeah.
Well, they can ask for
Yeah.
a waiver, I suppose, on just about anything, couldn't they?
No, it's not written that way. Rules are rules.
Well, I guess that's what was gonna be my ending comment when we get to the end, but I'm gonna bring it up now. My big pet peeve is redevelopment. And as you said, people coming in front of the planning board, and the famous one that drives me crazy is the industrial areas. When they're doing an addition or a parking lot. And they are subject to the site plan ordinance, which opens up their entire site.
Right,
Yet they're like, no, we're just gonna add this one pole and we're not touching all of that floodlight. That's going, I think the industrial areas are probably the worst. That need to be addressed, I guess, they're the more blatant ones, right? Cause you see a glow, I come across at the marsh on Route 1, you see a glow from the industrial park, or you see the glow
Mhm.
from Pleasant Hill. Is there a way to eliminate that from the planning board? Of being able to say, oh yeah, they're just an industrial area, nobody cares about the industrial area, we'll just let them keep these floodlights, or.
I like the fact that they have to, if they're going for a modification, they are subject now to the current site plan. And so,
I'm asking for more teeth so that the
Yeah.
planning board can't waive it.
we shouldn't waive it, yeah.
I can include sections.
But it is.
Yeah, I think those are, we'll
Yeah.
include those sections too. I'll look and see.
No, we had that with, that came up recently
Right,
too.
I think we're.
Yeah,
pretty
the
good on
car
these
dealer.
sites. It's a redevelopment
That's
that's
rebound, that's tricky, yeah.
tricky, and I understand, people coming up and think, well, we don't want to spend the money to redo all our lighting and.
The carriage house up here wanted to do that ad and I got
Yeah.
they wanted the same lights, but they were up lights.
But you have to think about, at some point, if you're not on the planning board.
Yeah, right,
who's gonna
right.
be that advocate? If we don't have one, then the planning board could be, if anyone's like, nobody cares about this area of town or the industrial zones or whatnot, if it's written, it has to be written.
The lighting provision
so
is
it's kinda out
non-waiverable.
there.
Yeah,
And does it explicitly say in there that these apply to redeveloped sites, not just new sites?
no, that's why I think we should include that, so we can add that as a section.
Redevelop must comply with.
Because that's the hardest to get to.
It is.
Right? And I mean.
And those are old too, and that's a prime area
It's
to
so much better
to
off if
update.
they fix it.
Yeah, they would be, but they don't want to spend the first cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
That's tomorrow to.
Is there any, those are good examples in the like industrial and redevelopment sites. Is there anything else missing? That you've seen in the past, maybe that came up?
That's my thing, I'm still trying to get that one site down industrial, that's just, they're just.
I'm trying to remember that plan that came
That's-
from the Katahdin Bank, I think it was, where they wanted to eliminate lights because they put in wall packs.
Oh, right.
And
That's the Barney, yeah.
yeah, and then their photometric from the first time to the second time was completely different.
Yeah.
And, I struggled with that because there were some dark spots. And I'm saying, well, you're coming before us for looking for, consideration. Well, now you're subjecting your whole site again.
Agreed.
And so it's got to be looked at as the site. So,
How, what do you think of their argument, because from I guess I don't completely understand it, and I think James kind of spoke to it a little bit at planning board, but. The applicant's argument sometimes is, they can't duplicate their existing fixtures, which doesn't seem. That doesn't seem like an argument to me, because couldn't you just pick a similar fixture and say,
Isn't it all about lumens? Right?
I don't understand the argument that they can't recreate.
I don't understand it either, because you're,
Update their whole site.
Well, I'm saying for the photometrics.
the beauty of
They're like, "Oh, we're gonna
LEDs,
have
you
a
can
light
tune them.
here, But it's not showing it because we can't recreate it on a plan. They're like, so just pretend this is lit, this area, right?
Yeah.
Essentially is what we got. And I'm like, well,
At some point in time, they had it created once,
Yeah.
right?
But
Or you
just
just-
couldn't they go up there with a light meter and just?
that's what they were doing
Oh,
instead, but I still don't understand why you couldn't say. Okay, here's a comparable fixture. This is close, as close as we can get, because maybe they don't make that anymore, which I totally can understand.
Yeah, yeah.
but I,
But to me, it's lumen output. You can duplicate lumen output.
right, and distribution, yeah. Seems like you could.
See,
Mhm.
that one was a great example of they just didn't listen to us. We had
Yeah.
it in our office probably for 4 or 5 months. It's been there for long, and they're like, no, we're south planning board. And
Yeah, they
they were
were-
like, fine, go ask them. You know?
Did we win or lose on that one? I
I
can't
thought
remember.
they were coming back.
Coming back, they were coming back. Yeah.
Yeah.
They haven't come back yet, but
yeah,
they're
that's a
not,
great
they're not in
example.
compliance with their original site plan, right?
If we
Right, there
actually
you go.
Square away, then like, there's no argument or
Right.
there's no ask.
Right,
Yes, so.
yeah. And that gives you the teeth that you
Yeah.
need.
Like I said, I think those are the more difficult ones, the redevelopment. I think new sites are pretty standard, like they're saying, they gotta meet the certain standard, they gotta meet certain height, like that's all understandable. And straightforward, it's the redevelopment that's
Mm-hmm.
the tricky, and then, like you said, they just say, well, we'll just, cry to the planning board and get a waiver, and so. And sometimes that doesn't work, and that's what we said.
Right.
And so they risk that, right, coming in front of the planning board. But it's better to have it in the ordinance than to rely on. The 7 people are always.
Right,
gonna have the
I
same-
totally
same
agree.
mindset, Right?
You don't, but here again, we're trying to make things, and we're gonna speak for future planning boards.
Yeah.
But I think
Well,
this is
that-
responsible.
But you must admit, we have a unique situation where we have. 2 very strong members in this field, right? That's not normal. for
No.
a Planning board.
Maybe
And it's
not,
not
I
to
don't
say
know.
that they wouldn't be advocates for it, they just wouldn't have the expertise, right? So that's what I mean.
But you gotta shepherd in all the other ones too, if it comes in front, because you're only one vote.
As long as it's.
But it
Has it in the
fits
ordinance.
That's right.
And that's
Then
where I'm saying
you
go
have
back
to meet,
You can start.
oh, no. I am so glad we have somebody that has that strength, and that's something that I think is important for the nominating committee to understand. There should be some sort of diversity within this and not all bleeding hearts or whatever.
So we're after 9. Is there anything
Oh
else?
my,
Yeah, no, please check the last paragraph up there, because it says that 6 feet above the ground. Illumination shall be 2.2 average vertical but you've got bollards that are only up to 4 feet. So that means they're shining upward,
Mhm.
so it just needs to be like that.
Thank you. Sure, thank you. This was really helpful.
So we need to crash course this, but this was a good session.
Yeah, and it's always helpful to talk it through rather than just reading, because I think like you don't necessarily pick up on things until people are.
So
Comments.
people say something, oh yeah, that does. And of course, I didn't go over with a fine tooth comb. Don't have time. But
So Autumn, what are next steps on that? Are you going to need this back before sustainability at some point, or?
I think I will work on it and then I will send it back to you all to look at and then
Fair
maybe
enough.
pass around as Google to talk again and make sure that we've captured it.
yeah, clean up and make it
Yeah,
another
yeah, make sure.
complete.
Don't see any, if I'm catching my own halide. And then I'll move forward. But I would ultimately, like you all, your recommendation for it, your
Okay.
thumbs up, so we can move forward long range.
Great. Next on the agenda is Sustainable Scarborough Day. The update there is that we did go check out Wentworth School last week. It's gonna be great to have it there. I think we will, hope, fingers crossed for good weather. And we'll be able to set up the booths in the bus drop-off circle. Will be a ton of space there. And then doing, one set of workshops in the cafeteria. They'll be set up for AV. There's a stage. It'll be great to use that space. And then if we do need to move inside because of weather, we'll have access to the gym, and then we can also partition off part of the cafeteria also if we need to set up other booth spaces in there also. So there's a lot of flexibility there. Not sure that we'll be able to get into the greenhouse area. We're going to talk to the teacher who kind of is the lead on that to see if she might want to do like greenhouse tours or anything like that to kind of show off the great work that they're doing. But the playground's right there. So, you know, good weather, kids and families can use the playground. And it's, you know, like a 5-minute walk from town hall. So not bad to kind of direct people down from the farmer's market and things like that. So we'll also have activities happening at the library. So we'll have our second workshop space at the library, and then our kind of base area for EV test drives will be at the library also. So that's where that is at.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Who's in charge of cleaning up at the end?
School custodians will do the inside work, and then you know, everybody will be responsible for bringing their own tables and canopies and things like that and bringing their stuff away.
And community services also needs to put out garbage cans.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna do that.
yeah, we'll work with them on that.
I don't have any food trucks or anything.
That's the goal, is to have food trucks there also, since we will be going through lunch hour. So right now we're looking at 10 to 2 as the time frame for that.
Fun. We're gonna get some road signs to stick in the ground.
Yeah, so
Promote it.
Allison and I have been talking about that, trying to keep it as sustainable as possible, and so keeping them general enough so that
I'll give you
we'll
my
be able to use that.
metal thing back when I pull it out and I mow my lawn.
so you come on to that. You need that for next year when you do Nomo May.
Oh,
But yeah, just thinking about not having them too specific so that we'll be able to use the same signs every year.
nice.
So that is that update. We're back on schedule. April, do you want to do town council update?
Sure. You know, town council is super busy. We had a 3.5-hour meeting the other night. And no signs of it letting up anytime soon. We've got GMO on our plate. That's going to second reading. So those updates at this point, we've had our public hearing and all of that stuff. So those new standards will be going into effect. We have the school building announced their site is in the Downs. And so the council's in negotiations, trying to secure the exact location and then work out a purchase price. So that project is moving along. As you guys know, Rick is on the sustainability subcommittee for that. And so as that project comes along, I'm sure we'll get updates from Rick as to the planning for the building itself. And then Jamie, we invited John Clucci to come to the June 28th meeting to discuss the creation of a sustainability fund for this committee and to take a look at the sustainability plan as it's written and see if that you know, can be strengthened so that the council understands like the intent behind the account. And then John also suggested that we bring Norm to the meeting just to kind of get his you know, his business expertise in terms of financing and how to make sure that what we want to create is within reason.
I want to make sure Antoine at that meeting as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell Anton, I'm bringing in all the big guns.
Bringing the heavy hitters in, so he has to be here.
In earnest, yeah.
Great. Thanks. So that will be on the June agenda, probably one of the only things on the June agenda. I feel like that's going to be a long conversation as we work through some of this stuff. So it'll be great.
Great.
Planning board.
Well, I missed the last meeting because I couldn't make it. But it was a long one. It was a 4-hour one, so it beat the town council. Although you meet twice a month, we only do it every 3 weeks. But there's a lot of things in the queue. I don't even know what they are, but the planners do. And
Yeah, we have the hotel on Southborough, the hotel at Mozzie, Payne, we have the Downs. 3i Homes, coming through.
yeah,
Then we have a mixed use building coming through at the Downs, we have 3 commercial uses off of Market Street and Haggett's coming in. So lots of activity there. We have a couple of site plans,
the parking lot for Nunsuch.
that one got approved.
Okay, so yeah,
So yeah, our next agenda, we have 14 items. So we didn't make it through 4 from the last one.
oh, good. So I didn't miss some of that packet. I mean, the packet was like this tall.
But we have a lot on our plate for the summer, so there's gonna be a lot of activity throughout the summer and fall, construction and building and all of that, so we really.
With the school
Moving
site
back,
being,
Curious on all these ordinance changes.
with the school site being in the Downs, what's that got to do to the TMP?
So it's funny for that last night's transportation committee that was brought up. And there were a lot of questions around traffic and transportation. Nick McGee, our liaison, was not available at the meeting and but did say anything coming up, let me know. And so the chair is reaching out to him
Okay,
with
that's a big
list of
deal.
concerns and comments around that. I think the Downs has their TMP. They have a very set, you shall do this project on this year. And then for the 5 years, so they are gonna proceed marching along, whereas with the school development, there might be some. Crossover, right?
But how does that affect the
Improvement.
sport part?
Right, so the school would have their own TMP that would have to do improvements on top of the Downs.
On top of the Downs improvements?
Yes. that's-
Oh, I see how that's gonna,
That would be to mitigate the impact of the school traffic specifically, so that the Downs has their
Gotcha.
traffic and then the school has. Yes, it's very complex, right? So that's where, like you said, Jen Ladd is chair of transportation. She's also on the planning board, and is really keyed in. She's also a mother of small children, so she's right in.
she's the
watching all
demographic
things
that,
with the school and the consolidation.
go girl, go. And
Um,
it's the beginning.
Yeah, she's got her hand like just right on the pulse of that, so I know she has a lot of questions and concerns, and I think that was probably going to be
Yeah.
conveyed through Nick McGee.
If anything happens, we, planning board doesn't really have much to say because it's gotta come through planning board, right? That site, but
It would.
it doesn't go through the
it would
formal
be a
site plan
vote.
review.
It would be, what do you call it?
It's
No,
a,
just
but
for
even
it's
like
it's a
design,
municipal,
it would be like we did public safety,
Right.
like we didn't actually vote on it, but you were able to give recommendations.
Recommendations,
or
yeah.
comment, that could be considered kind of thing. It's not a,
We don't hold ourselves to our own standards.
right.
yeah,
Well,
that's
you-
kind of what it
you
says.
need a vote from the planning board, right?
Yeah.
But obviously you're getting a vote through council and the public and. But as far as details go on like where you're putting a bike rack, you can make suggestions.
Mhm.
They don't have to listen, but obviously they're gonna want to because you're also the public, so
Right.
that's where.
We did on the sustainability committee, subcommittee of that school. I think the 2 pathways that are coming out of that is either a geothermal system or a VRF system. And passive house envelope standards were recommended. Now, whether that gets diluted a little bit because getting a 0.06 ACA air exchange is just so brutally hard. We're seeing, in Maine, it's really, really difficult. So I don't know how deep into the passive house standards they can achieve, but that's the goal. So it's going to be a very, very good building. Much better than a code building. So that's an improvement.
Angela, in terms of traffic with the school, is it safe to say that the town would likely have to do traffic improvements no matter where the school was going to be built?
Yeah,
So-
when you have that many, and I don't know, what is the number, is it like 700, yeah, it's 1,000 kids? Yeah, I mean, there's definitely data that says this is what the traffic's generating, and so you would be improving any street. and
We need more EV buses.
I just, you know, is there, you said there's a subcommittee on sustainability, is there a subcommittee on?
No, sustainability is a subcommittee under the building committee.
Right.
Oh, okay.
I'm not on the building committee, I'm just
But
on
that's what
that.
I'm asking, is there a transportation
I
subcommittee?
don't know.
Not yet, but I anticipate there will be one.
That's one of the questions too.
Yep.
So that transportation
Yeah, that's
committee
a good question.
could be engaged, like have a lot of questions, so.
Yep.
that was-
The incentivizing children to ride the bus.
And that was a big comment, that's a big comment from transportation, is trying to figure out what is the incentive for parents to drive, so like trying to figure that out and trying to crack that on trying to get more. Yeah, on the buses and things like that, and then electric buses, right, and then, so.
Yeah, I did just share some EV bus education opportunities with the school department. There are a couple webinars coming up and that I've signed up for. There are grants. The grant round is being reopened for EV buses coming up pretty soon. So, speaking of transportation, do you want to talk a little bit about signals or just give an update about signals at Oak Hill?
Sure, I'm sure everybody's heard or seen, I should say, because I have heard. When the light goes on flash, and that's been a concern. The Downs has completed all the install of all new cabinets, signal equipment. And upgraded around the signal heads along the north section, I'm calling it of Route 1, which is essentially from this intersection at Municipal Drive. Up to really Main Med campus
Mhm.
up there at so. With that install, the rhythm system, which is the adaptive traffic signal system, is learning. And as that is happening, we found this, I would say, at the Dunstan corner, when we implemented that same timing process, there's a lot of bugs you gotta work out. There's little hiccups. And I think we're finding it down at Dunstan, things running smoothly. It took a couple months.
It took a while because you always got a red light at that cartridge place.
Right.
And you would sit there and there's nothing coming and you're wondering, why are you sitting here?
Well, I guess that's a good point too, Rick, because one of the things we talk about with transportation is the education around the side streets. When you go to adaptive, it's about moving the queuing and platooning
Right.
of vehicles, so you don't have the emissions, people idling. Means the side streets are gonna have to wait. I think it's a mind shift too, of people sitting on those side streets going, okay, I understand what you're saying though, but it gets a little complicated, I think, at Dunstan because those signals are so.
They're so close together. Yeah. yeah.
But we did tweak that because that was an ongoing concern.
Yeah.
I think we can tweak over time. I think the flashing was more of. Less about, tweaking the rhythm system. It was more about new infrastructure, and there's a little thing on this one, there's a little thing on that one, and.
Right now it's a little haywire too, because they shut down Ash Swamp Road. Or Flag Pond Road. And so
Oh, the.
people are
detours. Yeah.
coming down Broad Turn through Saco and picking up Ash Swamp and then going Broad Turn to that corner.
Gotcha.
And so the queuing's been really long, but that's been a great improvement from when it was first that whole corner
Yeah.
recreated. It was a nightmare.
So this north section, I would just say that, yes, we may see. I'm hoping, I think we've seen fewer and fewer of those occurrences, as the engineers are kind of working through. The bugs and hiccups, but obviously it only takes. A minute of Oak Hill on flash and we're a mess, right? So it's.
No,
really
the smart
worldwide.
traffic lights have really been an improvement.
Yeah,
really,
so I'm
really
pretty
huge.
excited, and so they're starting the south section, And so essentially from Abbott Labs is doing their own, the Southgate.
Okay, yeah,
And Downs is doing the others, and so essentially you'll have from Southgate all the way to main campus eventually will be all coordinated, all rhythm, adaptive signals. And kind of moving that quarter along, so it's gonna be.
it's getting better and better.
It's-
It's
Yeah,
been a good thing.
yes,
It's totally worth a couple months of growing pains. That's
yeah, so there will be
great.
some growing pains, yeah.
Well, get tough skin, you can do it. There is a lot of unknown, I guess, out there, or I've seen it on the internet a lot. What is that going on in the Martin's parking lot?
Yeah.
That is a Starbucks with 2 shell spaces that I don't know, maybe they've rented them now, but there were 2 other things. So just if you're asked, because I see it on,
Social
everything.
media,
I've
it's
seen it
everything.
too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Starbucks with a drive-through and then 2 other commercial retail shells. that
I
can
think
be
what
in
I'm
it.
hearing now is like, it can't be a Starbucks, 'cause it's so big, like, compared,
Right.
but you said there's 2 others.
There's 2 other full rent
Yeah.
kind of things.
Yeah.
A nail salon will go in one of them,
Yeah.
and a bank will go in the other one.
Bathrooms.
Anyway, that's the planning board update.
Great. Conservation Commission, just one thing to report is, they proposed a resolution to the town council to support the 30 by 30
There you go.
initiative. Counselors Shoup and Katerina kind of took what the, commission provided and pared it down a bit. The commission reviewed it this week, and kind of gave it their thumbs up, so,
Good for them.
expect the council to consider it in the June 7th meeting, the first meeting in June. And then potentially, pulling together an ad hoc committee to look at how strategies for how we may achieve 30 by 30. And so it'll be an ad hoc committee made up of members of existing committees, and other organizations. So it'll be, Conservation Commission, Parks and Land Conservation Board. I think sustainability was on there. I think transportation was on there. And then Scarborough Land Trust, Friends of Scarborough Marsh, Scarborough Fish and Game, I think Maine Audubon. So kind of trying to get a cross section of different groups that are kind of all in some way related to land conservation and open space.
Well, good for them.
So more to come on that once we kind of get marching orders from that, but sounds like Autumn will be spearheading that ad hoc committee.
Oh, boy. Speaking of ad hoc, if there's anybody interested on this committee, there's the community center ad hoc. That you, if you're so inclined to throw your name in, I think they're taking applications through June 15th, something like that. And then on June 8th, there's an all boards.
So what Rick is talking about is, they're forming an ad hoc committee to look at the community center. So if you want to serve on that committee, and provide input on that. And then the last thing on our agenda is just a note about the All Boards Summit, which is put on by SEDCO. Basically, all of Scarborough's boards and committees are invited, and it's just a way.
This is the first time since COVID that we've had it. We've had it in the past and it's been nice. And so I plan on attending. And if I have your blessing, I'll speak for this committee.
Yeah, and anyone from the group is welcome to attend. I did send out a calendar invite just so I had an idea of who was from this group is planning to go. But in order to attend, they just ask that you register so they know how many people to plan on. And the link is in the agenda, and I'm pretty sure I put it in the meeting invite also when I sent that out.
And then Bill Maine is coming up, that everybody, that's exciting that Scarborough's part of that, and we did get a booth there. So Efficiency Maine will
Oh,
be there.
nice.
You got
I was like,
I take my other hat off.
Jamie has a
First week, and first week planning board on Monday, we have long range planning on Wednesday, and I'm supposed to go to Bill Maine, but then I have council on Wednesday afternoon,
Yeah.
and I have all boards coming on Thursday. I'm not sure.
How are you gonna pull that one
I'm not
off?
sure. And I've also got field day at my kid's school and state tennis. I'm really not sure how.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going both days, but I'll go one. But I also have planning board and playoff, high school playoffs start that week.
Such a big impact.
And so baseball games, but Usually I get those done at 6 PM, so I can. Yeah, okay.
All right.
Motion to adjourn, folks. We're right at 9:30.
30.
Nice, nice.
Everyone.